Please state your name again, please.
Amanda Vanderwall. I was wondering if like the lawyers and the bankers that come here, if I was wearing a suit, would everything be more important, or would you listen anymore? I wanted to thank Dr. Pratt for standing up, and also the banks have no problem charging $35,000 and another
you've got to stay on topic here.
And another $3,500 when they already get 2.09% of the $5 million they're asking for.
Chief, would you remove her, please? Thank you.
Seriously? Okay. Thought this was America. Guess I'm wrong. Why do I have to leave? This is a public forum.
Yes.
How was I off topic?
I'll clear the room.
Go ahead.
Okay.
There's a problem when one individual or group of individuals have the power to tell people you cannot have a blanket outside on the planet Earth. That's a big problem. You're taking logic and turning it on its head. You're attacking the people of your community that you say you care about. Well, this ordinance, in a week, it could be one of your family members that's on the streets. And then you're going to have the police arresting your family members. It could be you, because the economy's so great right now. So what you're going to feel, real smart if, someone in your family gets arrested for having a big fuzzy blanket trying to stay warm, maybe on Christmas Day. I mean, this is just all this red tape to try and say, no, you can't have a tent, like it's ridiculous. You can't have a blanket. You can't push the homeless to the sea because homelessness is not going to go away. But when we're talking about making a loan for $5 million from a bank while you're trying to attack the homeless, that's not logical. That's not rational. I talk about it all day. $5 million can open up a lot of vacant homes, open up a lot of shelters, safe houses for abused women and children, sexual abuse victims, domestic housewife.
Stay on topic, sir.
Abuse. That's very on topic.
It's not about a $5 million loan. This is about.
It's very much about that, because all these problems are.
Okay.
We're being governed, and we're not having a chance to participate in.
You're out of order, sir.
I'm not out of order at all. You're out of order.
Father Monk.
This is all out of order. You're out of order. City Council is out of order. I can't even get eye contact. None of us can get eye contact.
Okay, that's fine. Father Monk.
I remember a discussion very similar to this about tents and vagrants and people living in disgusting means, and that we just needed to get them inside. And so Andrew Jackson just sort of moved them across the plain. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And I think it's just very interesting that this country was built on a bunch of guys riding on horses, living outside under the stars. We romanticize it. We make movies about it. But then we want to criminalize it in practicality. And I think that this ordinance, not only is it targeted towards the poor, but I think that it will be used in such a way that you're not going to arrest some businessman if he's lying out in Plaza Ferdinand on a nice warm summer day with a blanket down. We're creating an opportunity for people to be targeted based upon their social status. And that is about as un-American as I can imagine. The fact that this ordinance is even being brought before this council is problematic. And it is done under the guise of about health and safety. Whose health and safety? I think the burden exists on the mayor to show us whose health and whose safety is in danger with this ordinance. 2 years ago, we had 14 days of under 30-degree weather. And I remember one particular individual who froze to death during that time. His name was Red. And Red was sleeping in a tent. His tent was next to a fire. He had a sleeping bag. His sleeping bag was lined with newspapers. And he froze to death. You know, and I know the city likes to talk about liability and what type of liability issues would end up coming up from an ordinance like this. But I would hold every single one of you that voted for this ordinance liable if someone freezes to death this winter if this ordinance passes. This council would have arrested Mary and Joseph around this time of year for being vagrants. And then you would have called DCF and had the Christ child taken off. It had a wholly different edifice that we would be using to remind ourselves on Sunday morning. I think it's funny, you know, I went to the council website to pull everyone's email addresses, and it was real neat. You know, everyone had their churches that they go to. I think it's funny that so many people proudly worship a homeless man on Sunday, and then you want to arrest him on Monday. We actually did. We crucified him, and I would consider it the exact same thing if this council goes forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Monk.
What we've come to today, ladies and gentlemen of the council, and Mr. Mayor, is a situation that I believe has been caused by or led by many of the local businesses in this area. And with the local business people, many of those who helped elect you and now support your administration, have basically come to you and have labeled you as the new Heimlich Himmler and asked you to come up with a new final solution to the homeless situation here in Pensacola. As I told you before, I lived on the streets of Pensacola, and Pensacola has never been a homeless-friendly area. And today, matters are even worse. If you pass this ordinance, you will give the police department the authority to walk in to anyone's living area, anyone's sleeping area, burn, trash, tear down, however you want to word it, their camping area, and leave them out in the cold with no protection at all. Now, there have been a lot of possible solutions to come up here. I'd just like to ask you this. You continue to come up with these ordinances about the homeless. So just where do you want them to go? Here's some choices I have for you. You can put them in jail.
No, let's
Okay.
not go there. This is about the ordinance
All right,
itself.
I'll stick to the
I've let you
ordinance.
go on a little bit longer than I should, so I'm just going to ask you
I
to wrap it up.
apologize. I'll cut it off.
I've been up here and I feel that I have been accused of being a non-Christian, against the homeless, and I have been accused of many things that is just not true. I made the motion and it was seconded. For you all that don't understand Robert's rules, that brings... All right.
That's it, sir.
You're not helping
Please
your
don't
cause
do that.
by doing that. We're trying to have an adult discussion here. And we're trying to do what's right, as Ms. DeWeese said, for all of the city of Pensacola. You have to understand that we get calls about the issue that's before us now from people that are on the other side. And we have to weigh all things out and try to make the best decision that we can make. This isn't a personal decision for me, but this is a decision where I have to listen to all people. I hear the folks in the audience, but to be accused of being a non-Christian and to be against the homeless is just not correct.
Mr.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alistair McKenzie. I am not here representing Occupy Pensacola. What I am here today to talk to you about is this no camping ordinance. I don't think it's constitutional, number one, despite, however, it may be mirrored to Joel versus City of Orlando. I think it's unacceptable. I know that you are not the ones who proposed it, so I could have saved y'all all that breath about calling you non-Christians by saying, I'm well aware that the person who put this forward is the mayor and his staff. And the mayor is not here to say why he put this before you or why not. But I can give you two inclinations as why.
I don't need to hear the motive of the mayor on this, sir. Is speak to the ordinance itself, please.
Sir, when we're dealing with discrimination, motive is very important.
Well,
So I would like to say
well,
that one could easily interpret the no camping ordinance coming before you on two aspects. Number one, and to me most personally disturbing, because as was said by someone much smarter and wiser than myself, the value of a society is determined by the way it treats its least. And the mayor has put before you something that calls for a question of values. And so I would ask you, I don't know what your values are. I know you didn't put this forward. I would ask you to look and say, what is important to you? Where do your values lie? Do your values lie in helping the least of your society? Or do your values lie with trying to improve the aesthetic quality of a city? What's really more important in the end? Also, on part of this is the roadway safety ordinance that the mayor has decided to impose.
no, we're not going there.
This is part and parcel of the war on the poor.
You're out of order. Speak to this ordinance.
Okay. Well, this ordinance is overbroad, okay? And if it's not overbroad, then it's also viewpoint discrimination. And what I mean by that is it's specifically selecting a class of individuals out in order to attack them for being something that they cannot change. It is an immutable characteristic they have, and I would hope that City Council would have the wisdom to tell the mayor to take this ordinance back. And yet you're not going to pass it because you care about human beings. Thank you.
What I wanted to talk about is what you're doing. You know, sometimes if we forget history, we repeat it. And as was pointed out, the civil rights movement, which was a non-violent movement, but boy, the violence and the turmoil that came down on them has always been a black eye on this nation.
This is not the old civil rights, 60s
It's
civil
similar.
rights discussion.
And I wanted to point out one other thing, according to history, because the times we are in right now reflect the 1930s a great deal. And there were what they called the bonus marches.
This is not the 1930s. Speak to the ordinance, Mr.
I am
Embry.
speaking to it. And the bonus marches were World War I
Mr. Embry, your
veterans.
time is up. Thank you.
How
Okay.
dare you, Chief, cut me off? You know my rank.
Excuse me. I just want one question.
No,
Where
no.
is the mayor? Why can we never see the mayor? That's not the mayor. That is Mr. Reynolds. He doesn't even live in Pensacola. He lives in Gulf Breeze. When do we get to see the mayor? When? Can you tell me, please?
Chief,
Go ahead. Take me off. I don't care.
Yeah.
Where's the mayor?
thank you.
Leave him with a warm blanket.
Okay.
Italy.